solely to the heinous events that
Ugh.
transpired during and after
Bro,
its
there is
television
no
run.
saving that right there.
Thanks solely to the heinous
There's nothing you can do with this. You gotta let it go, bro.
events that transpired
You gotta go
during
ball.
and after its television
That's
run.
bad.
This is the story of Joy Junction, the children's TV show.
Are we serious? Who greenlit this? Who did that?
With an unimaginably dark secret.
Nah, he did that on purpose. He looking at me.
We'll return after these messages.
One of the most frustrating things to me is spam phone
Shit.
calls and spam
I ain't expect to see your
texts.
face, bro.
With having the on and
You're
always
jump scaring me.
Thank you, and welcome to this fun little town of Joy Junction.
Joy
Joy
Junction?
Junction was both the name of the show and the name of the fictional town in which it was focused. A town where numerous
Bro, I don't like that
characters
puppet.
converged to tell stories, play games, and answer questions, all of which pertaining to Christianity. Each
Okay.
episode followed the same basic structure. They were 30 minutes long and would tackle one general lesson taught in the Bible and tell it through an acted out story. This was then interspersed with various games and audience participation, as the show heavily leaned on including its young fan base and immersing them in the world of Joy Junction.
So what's
It even had a
wrong?
live
How is this
studio
the
audience
darkest
for
te-
every episode, comprised of kids
Oh, with a
ages
dark
3 to
secret,
13,
okay.
with the
I wanna know what
participants
it
in
is,
the
bro,
crowd
'cause so
genuinely being
far,
excited to be there,
it's
which was
harmless.
largely due to its
Except for that
colorful cast of
puppet. Him right there.
characters.
He needs to get on somewhere, bro.
The most
Let's be
prevalent
real.
of these was Sheriff
We gotta
Don,
keep it real,
who was
bro.
actually played by the creator of the show itself, Don McAllister.
He look off too.
Gang is here, so we're going to have us a good time today. Glad
No, he
you
don't
could
look
join
too
us for
bad.
the next 30 minutes.
He guided the show from segment to segment and often focused on the Bible while driving home the episode's central
Why is that
theme,
puppet
while also being
everywhere?
the one who most often interacted with the children who participated in the show. Then there was Forrest Padley, a soft-spoken professor who, ironically, often had lessons taught to him due to his obvious clueless nature.
Oh. Oh, it's a bald cap. It's not actually his hair. Thank God.
He'll even help when you're in trouble. Hey, Chef Don, you're a poet too.
And of course, the fan favorite, Whitler Dan, a caricature of a southern farmer known as the goofy storyteller of the group.
Good, yeah. Oh, hi. I'm just sitting here reading some of the mail from Joy Junction and some of the jokes in here. Would you like me to read some more? Oh, okay. That's good, yeah. Yeah. Oh, you want me to read it to you?
But of all the characters to come from Joy Junction, there was one, or two, who were by far the most
It's a nice
popular,
beard, bro. I'm
yet
trying to grow my shit out
polarizing.
like that. I know it's not gonna
Ron and
happen,
Marty.
but I
Played
can
by
wish.
professional ventriloquist Ronald Williams,
Can this-
Ron and Marty were far and away the most memorable
Get this
characters
puppet
for those
off
who
of my
watched the show, and for obvious reasons too.
Who like? I'm just let it play,
Many
bro.
children
That's the
watching
last time I'm
film
bringing it
found the
up. I'm gonna
duo
try
and
and
Marty
I'm gonna try and
specifically to be
ignore him.
Off-putting, even horrifying.
gets to
with
a
some
point,
claiming
bro.
that the doll gave them nightmares and was just too creepy to look
Yes.
at, causing many to stop watching the show altogether. Nightmares specifically to be off-putting, even horrifying, with some claiming that the doll gave them nightmares and was just too creepy to look at,
Yeah.
causing many to stop watching the show.
Yeah, I would bet,
But
bro.
despite this, others found the duo to be hilarious and entertaining, tuning in week after week just to see them perform. For the viewers, it was a love or hate relationship with Ron and Marty. But even so, it was impossible to dismiss their impact on the show. They appear in every single episode that we have
His face is
available
like
today, and they were often
like,
tasked with teaching the children
don't
some
like
of the
it.
series' most important lessons. Lessons like not to cuss,
Seems like I'm hearing a lot of swear words.
Profanity.
All the kids are using swear words these days.
Oh, that's the name of the
I'm
episode.
afraid one of them's gonna
Air
slip
date
out of my
unknown,
mouth.
okay.
First of all, why don't you try
His eyebrows are
immediately pray
bro.
and asking the Lord
I
to
said I'm gonna
take
ignore him.
bad
I'm gonna
words
ignore
and
him.
thoughts out of your mind. Say, that's a good idea.
practicing self-control,
Self-control. Oh, well, I don't think my self-control works. It must be broken. Well, no, Marty. I don't think anybody can practice self-control all by themselves. But if you'll just ask the Lord to help you, He will.
defeating bad thoughts,
Hearts will cause good words and thoughts to come out of our mouths. It's almost so, Marty, as if our mouths will overflow with the thoughts and the ideas that are inside of us. You know, we need to be very careful about what we put in our minds and our hearts, Marty. That's for sure.
and most controversially,
Ron, they were looking at some dirty pictures and they wanted me to look too.
What?
Well, Marty, what did you do? Well, I said, look, guys, I like you a lot and I want to play with you, but I can't look at those pictures. I just can't do it.
Okay, maybe my
Whether it was
mind's
the
in the
lessons
gutter,
they
bro.
taught, or Marty's
The way he
personal
said that though was
opinions, these two
crazy.
characters were the most vividly remembered part of the show.
Oh
And
my
this is important,
god.
as these memories are essentially all we've been left with.
Mine's in the gutter, bro.
We are still covered with that darkness and with that sin. And when we say he'll wash us as white as snow, that's referring to the sin that's within us.
Joy Junction is classified today mainly as lost media. No official copies of the show have ever been published by its creators or the networks that owned it.
So then
It
how
just
was it
kind
a
of
show?
ended one day and was never talked about again by those involved with the project.
Oh.
And this lack of archiving stretches past just the media itself. If you were to look online for information on the show today, you would find next to nothing. There's no Wikipedia page, no actors, producers, or directors mentioning it in their work.
So it's not an
history or on their
actual show.
resumes.
That's what
There's
you're
no
telling me
official
right now.
website. There's essentially nothing.
So you're wasting
Not
my
even so
time.
much as an official date in which the show started and ended, despite the fact that the show apparently ran for 20 long years. We know
What?
for sure that the show aired on CTN in the 1980s, specifically in the Tampa Bay area, before it was later syndicated and broadcast across the country on channels such as
20
TNN and
years?
Smile of a Child. But today, none of these networks mention the show having ever aired in their lineups, and none of them have ever provided an explanation as to why the show was pulled from the air. The only reason we even know anything about it is thanks to old recordings and VHS tapes captured by those who once enjoyed the show. With a few dozen episodes and some short clips from the series having made their way to YouTube in recent years,
I'm not watching
essentially
these.
serving as the only
Wait,
surviving
low-key?
relics of
Low-key, 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 low-key. Oh my god. I want to see if that playlist is still here.
I want to play with you.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I think I just got spoiled a little bit. I just saw a dude in news. So something happened. Something bad happened. Okay. Let me stop spoiling myself. That was creepy though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting up out of here.
It was later syndicated and broadcast across the country on channels such as TVN and Smile,
We
and
saw
none
that.
of them have ever provided an explanation as to why the show was pulled from the air. The only reason we even know anything about it is thanks to old recordings and VHS tapes captured by those who once enjoyed the show. With a few dozen episodes and some short clips from the series having made their way to YouTube in recent years, essentially serving as the only surviving relics of Joy Junction.
Okay.
Because of this, the show is largely a mystery, and information is incredibly scarce and hard to come by. But after doing some digging, I was able to find some mentions of it in old newspapers printed nearly 45 years ago that did shed a bit of light on the context surrounding its creation. The first mention of Joy Junction came in 1978 within the Evening Independent, though at this point it was not even a television show yet. Instead, advertisements were placed in the paper weekly for the Faith Community Church in Largo, Texas, that mentioned including some sort of in-person act specifically for children, called Joy Junction. It's unclear what this performance actually entailed, but coincidentally, just 1 year later, the show Joy Junction would begin filming in Largo, Florida, with these original performances likely serving as the inspiration and the basis for the show itself. Following this trail of newspapers, I also found that the show was created by a company called WCLF, which began broadcasting back in October of 1979, with the founder of the company vaguely mentioning Joy Junction as an upcoming project. And sure enough, 1 week later, that same paper included a television guide that mentioned Joy Junction showing on TV for the very first time.
So it was rising up the ranks, okay.
November 10th, 1979.
1979?
Aside from this, I was able to confirm that the show did in fact play all across the United States and wasn't limited to just Florida, which might be why finding an exact date on when the show ended has proven essentially impossible.
Yeah.
But the most common belief across the internet is that the show lasted until somewhere around 2004, putting its lifespan at a surprising 25 years, which makes it all the more unusual that there's hardly any mention of it online.
Exactly, 20 long years, no mention on the internet.
It seemed as if the parties involved didn't just drop the show and forget about it.
What did he do that was so bad, bro?
Completely washed their hands of it and tried their best to bury it. There are even rumors circulating that CTN themselves had all their remaining copies set on fire and destroyed so that the show would forever be forgotten.
Damn.
And when you consider everything that happened,
set on fire and destroyed?
Surprising. But what is surprising is the extent of the unraveling and the way in which it began, as it all started with a simple water bottle. It's unknown when exactly the discovery was made, just that it was a terrible one. Police arrest a man under the suspicion of distributing CP, only to find numerous images
Oh
depicting
my
it on his
god,
hard
I
drive,
know where this is
with the vast
going
majority of the
now.
victims involved being impossible to identify, except for one. Within the background of one of the images lay a hidden clue, a water bottle displaying the name of a swim and scuba school in Johnson County, Kansas City. Police did a search of the area, asking for help identifying the victim, which led them to a young child who swiftly pointed out their abuser as being a man named Michael Arnett.
Who's
Michael
that?
was immediately arrested, after which the true extent of his crime would be uncovered on his home computers. They contained countless photographs and videos depicting the same disturbing material, including a great deal that was produced by Michael himself.
Who's
The
this?
contents of these images are genuinely some of the most appalling I've ever heard described.
Oh my
Though we'll get
gosh.
more into that later, because there
Don't.
is something more relevant to this video that they found on his device. It was a lengthy online chat history with a man named Ronald Brown.
And Ron, you're not the one to talk. You're always on the telephone, too. Well, I guess you've got...
Ronald's
Oh,
life was centered around three things: ventriloquism, Christianity, and children. His primary job was
Not
working
my
as a
nigga
traveling
Ronald,
puppeteer
bro.
with his show called Puppets Plus, working school events, birthday parties, and at local malls. He also hosted a weekly puppet
Nigga, his
show with
life
local
evolves
congregation
around
that he
kids.
billed as being specifically
His
for
job.
children. And of course, he had his role on Joy Junction. Every aspect of his life brought him in close proximity to children.
yeah,
As it
bro.
turns
This
out,
guy is. Does he? Can he hear me?
there were
That's the second time that
incidents
happened.
that raised serious red flags about this. The first incident occurred in 1998, at a time when Joy Junction was still believed to be in circulation across TV stations.
That is crazy.
Brown was driving home late one evening when a police officer pulled him over for speeding. The officer shined his light in the car as Ronald reached for his documents, only for his light to catch something unusual stuck between the seat cushions. It was underwear. Children's underwear. Despite the alarming nature of this, Ronald would end
Bro.
up convincing the officer that nothing strange was going on, claiming that the old pair of briefs merely belonged to his puppet, Marty. That night,
Why would
Ronald
the
was allowed to
puppet-
drive away without further questioning. Though things
Bro,
get stranger from here.
like,
Around
are
the
you
time of this
serious?
encounter, Ronald had been
Why would
living
you
at a
let
home
him on the
conveniently
loose like
located
that?
less than a block away from a popular playground. And upon moving into this home, neighbors began to complain of Ronald's relationship with young children in the area. Every Wednesday, kids from around the block would ride their scooters and their bikes over to his house for free pizza.
Oh my
The group would
gosh,
eventually
bro.
emerge from the home, and Ronald would drive them in his van to a nearby church,
What?
where he would supposedly perform his ventriloquism. These weekly meetups were strange to say the least,
Yeah.
especially because they were allegedly fairly secretive, with some children even sneaking off to meet the man without telling their parents. There were even other allegations that Ronald himself had hid their bikes underneath his home, almost as if he was trying to avoid any suspicion.
What the fuck?
And although I couldn't find concrete proof of this, it was rumored that when neighbors checked underneath his home, they reported not only finding these bikes, but used sex toys as well, which were stashed there for unknown reasons. There were never any sort
Bro,
of
what the
allegations against
fuck?
Ron, legal or otherwise, but the red flags
What
here
was
are
he
clear.
doing in these
Red
fucking
flags that seemingly went
ventriloquist
ignored, as
acts?
people bought into Ronald's act as a God-fearing, silly ventriloquist. Though in reality, the chats found on the computer of Michael Arnett shattered this perception in the most
What was he
dramatic
saying,
way
though? Like-
imaginable. Though even so, these chats aren't what you would expect. No, somehow they are much, much worse.
I'll find out. Revelation Act 5. Oh shit. Oh, he's showing some of the chat log. Due to graphic nature, I don't feel comfortable reading them out loud. Would have time to do it today. I only had him. Do what? I would have been up all night and whoa, 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 whoa. What the fuck?
Within their conversations
What
were
the
numerous
fuck?
messages between the two men, fantasizing about not only killing children, but eating them as
Bro, this is
well,
way worse than
most
I
of the
thought.
messages being far too vile to discuss or even show in this video. And this wasn't just fascination.
A
it was
nice weekend
obsession.
meal.
Ronald had even found a child at his church that he frequently discussed wanting to eat, mentioning that he would be the perfect feast for Easter, describing what it would be like to end his life and to consume his body. And this went far past just talking, as Brown had taken photos of the child from afar and had actually been formulating a plan to kidnap him. He had even sent a photo of the child with black lines drawn over it to show the various spots in which Ronald wanted to butcher him. This was all supported by his friend Michael too, who himself claimed to have eaten multiple children, with a man even sending a photo of a 2-year-old girl that was seen inside of a pot, inside of an oven. And this wasn't the end of the shocking discoveries either, as things were made even worse upon investigators searching into Ronald's username, UE Lime. In doing so, they discovered an account on a website called cutedeadguys.net, which was and is a forum for sharing images of the dead between those who fetishize corpses. And within his account, Ronald
Fetishizes?
stated that he was one of these people too, admitting that he loved the sight of dead boys ever since he was a young man.
Yo,
And he wasn't
bro.
lying either.
Bro.
Upon these revelations, Ronald's
Bro.
home was raided, where police would find over 200 images containing CP, which
200?
hundreds of others, showing tied-up children, children being abused, and children that appeared to be dead. Along with this, police also found a blow-up sex doll in the home that was dressed in little boy's clothing, and inside one of his sock drawers was another hard drive with images of countless dead children, as well as a single flyer for a missing child.
This is
in the area.
horrible, bro.
He also had hundreds of images of a young boy named Andrew.
So all of that like Christian stuff and all of this was just a cover up so that he could do all of this shit, bro. And that's
with the boy having died
that's
of a
so-
brain tumor
that's
years
horrible.
before. Photos that showed the boy's slow physical decline, all the way until his memorial service.
You know, Don, you have to invite Jesus Christ to come into your heart and ask him to forgive you of your sin.
Upon his arrest, Ronald
Yo.
Brown admitted to everything. He truly did want to eat the child he had been eyeing up at his church, along with many others over the years. Though
You
after
need help,
saying
bro.
this, he claimed that he would never actually have carried through with it, and that Michael and him were merely role-playing. This is heavily debated to this day, as technically there isn't proof that any of these delusions spilled over to the real world. But that's only what we know of, and considering the large quantity of CP in his home, the self-admitted obsession with dead little boys, and the actual plans he had to kidnap and eat a child, it seems
Yeah.
clear that it was only a matter of time before he
He was
finally
gonna do
followed
it
through
eventually,
with
bro.
his
Let's be
desires.
honest here. He was gonna
For
do that
Ronald,
eventually.
There was no defense. And because of this, the judge handed down a sentence of 20 years in
Yeah,
2014,
get him outta here.
which would wind up becoming a life sentence.
Yeah,
as
good.
It appears he passed away
Keep him
sometime
behind
in
bars.
2020,
Yep, good.
well before his scheduled release.
Get him out of here. Packed up. Back to the lobby.
This discovery changed the entire context surrounding Joy Junction, the wholesome TV show
That's
beloved
so
by children
weird
all
now.
across the country, only for one of its main stars to be outed as a predator of the most disturbing caliber. But there was one last discovery made by law enforcement in Ronald's case that makes the show that much more chilling.
Wait, what?
During the raid on Ronald's home, officers found a collection of journals that Ronald wrote in daily, where he obsessively discussed young boys that he had been coming into contact with,
Yo,
highlighting
bro.
his desire to know what it was
Bro.
like to kill them. And to
How
know
does
what
it keep
faced.
getting worse?
These journals, to my knowledge, have never been released to the public. But the thing I find most interesting about this is the date at which these journals started. 1978, meaning that this disturbing desire had been brewing inside of him for decades. And coincidentally, Joy Junction just so happened to
Wow,
start 1 year
bro.
later in 1979, meaning that many of the kids seen on this program were likely the
This is horrid, bro.
very same ones that Ronald wanted to eat. Given this context, it's no wonder why all parties involved with Joy Junction cut ties with it completely. It just changes the entire feeling of the show. From the moment that one simple water bottle was identified, in the process of being tried and sentenced, and when reading into some of these other cases involving Michael, it's evident just how serious these people were about their dark cravings.
That's so
One of these men-
weird, bro. Ugh. You like the blobfish. But, that was crazy. Oh my gosh. Seattle zombie woman. Oh, hell nah. Get that out of here, bro.